What's going on, guys? For all those who subscribe, I think by 115, I want to thank you, right? Means a lot. I know I'm not as consistent, have some insecurities by being on camera and doing different things like that. But I do get a lot of requests from people, even though y'all do not subscribe, but people from like my social media, people from my Facebook and different like that, asking me when I'm gonna post again. Why haven't I been posting? But this is 2026, and I know I've said it in the past that I'm gonna start posting more. But I got a lot more things set up to where it's more comfortable for me to start recording. Financially, the Lord has blessed me to be more financially stable, that way I could take time to record, go places, do different things, have better equipment to record with and upload videos. We are in January. You can consider this the heart of winter for some. For us here in Illinois, it gets crazy at times for us in the winter times. We might get hit with a polar vortex. We might get hit with an ice age. We don't ever know here. Like, it's January. What day is it? I don't even know what day it is. It's the 7th, and we already had a bunch of snow and it melted, and it's 45 degrees outside right now. So our weather here is all screwed up. Thanks for coming here, because I'm going to show you 3 baits. I feel like every angler, if you fish all year long like I do myself on the rivers, you should have tied on at all times. These 3 baits I have won money on. These 3 baits I've caught a lot of big fish on. And these 3 baits are just consistent. Definitely if you don't like moving real slow, which is the biggest misconception about wintertime fishing, is that you gotta count rocks. You gotta move real slow. These fish ain't eating like they want to. Let me tell you something. These fish are eating. They're actively feeding. Yes, they might not be like chasing, busting on water, busting on shad, but best believe they're still feeding. If they didn't feed like they need to be in the water, they'll just become victims of flathead catfish all day long. But these fish are feeding. They are eating. They're at this time, they're every meal counts, right? So that you should have tied on in the wintertime is this boy right here. Everybody else might have their opinions on like what they throw, but this is the Megabass Spark Shad, I believe. Throwing that on, this is a owner. I know it's an owner ball head, but if I don't remember the hook size, but it's like a 2-aught hook, right? And I'm doing this with a 3/16. Reason being, I need that fall. I don't need a 3/8. I need a 3/8 a little bit too big, but that fall is very important in wintertime. I want that bait to fall a certain way. And how I'm fishing this is, I'm fishing this with a very long cast. Very long cast. I'm letting that bait hit the bottom, but I am not reeling right away. Forward facing sonar, I don't have that on my boat, but you can see, if you know, the guys now can see forward facing sonar if something's chasing their bait down. But this is for the anglers that don't have it, or you just don't use it in wintertime. Is the reason I let that bait sit there for a moment, because as soon as I hit that water, that plays a part of this action of working that bait. I'm allowing that bait to just hit the bottom to mimic a dying bait fish, and it's going to sit there. I'm gonna let it sit there for about 10 seconds, and then I'm going to not slow roll, but try to keep contact with the bottom. And as I'm retrieving that bait, I'm killing it, I'm popping it, and those little subtle things, I am triggering bites from it. I mean, I've caught so many fish off these, and I just a word of advice: don't go out and use tungsten when you're throwing this technique. Reason being, because you're throwing this on rip wrap, and you're throwing this by hardcover, and you're gonna lose in the days of fishing. You're gonna lose about 30 of these. I have boxes of these. Also, I'm also using a light wire hook. That way it's a little bit sharper. You do sometimes, depending on the big fish, you will lose it. They'll bend the hook out, but also too, just to play and saving money, I'm using a light wire hook. That way I can, if I get lucky, I can bend that hook and get it loose, so I'll have to keep tying on new bait. Now, the setup that I'm using for this technique is I'm using a 7.2 medium light rod. Reason being, I need that really soft tip to make sure I'm keeping direct contact and to feel when I'm getting bit. And what goes along with that setup, the way it works so well, is I'm using 15-pound Yo-Zuri braid paired with a 6-pound leader, Seaguar leader. Those two combos, I know it's like, oh, you're mixed match line. I don't care. I like Yo-Zuri braid. I feel like they make the best braid to me. Been using them for 6 years now. So I really believe that they make the best braid and the most sensitive braid in my opinion. But that fluorocarbon, that light setup from a 15-pound braid to a 6-pound leader, what that's allowing me to do is when I'm killing that bait, popping that bait, and the fish are hitting the fall, it's allowing me to really dial in that line jump and also feel that rod tip when I catch that little peck. Because a lot of times they're not gonna really hit it. They're literally gonna come up behind it, and they're just gonna. That's it. And you're not gonna feel it. All you're gonna feel is your rod. It gets a little bit mushy, and it's important to understand the difference in the bite. But yeah, that's the first technique. All right, so the second technique that, I mean, everybody throws this bait. This is not a secret bait. This is not nothing that people don't throw. I just feel like it doesn't get thrown enough. I think people recognize it, but again, not everybody fishes the winter. A lot of times guys here, they go straight to ice fishing. I ain't getting on no ice. I'm fishing for bass all year long. The second technique is this bad boy right here. Everybody know what this is. This is a Spro rock crawler. I call it Wigglewort 2.0. Some say the Wigglewort is better. I say this is better than the Wigglewort. I've had all the pre-Rapala Wiggleworts. I own a lot. Matter of fact, I need to hit some of my guys up from Virginia that got me into fishing. I'm the older guys who got me into tournament fishing to see how many Wiggleworts they got left, because I know they got a bunch. But these, man, I feel like dead of winter, they don't get the credit because so many people are hyped up to fishing, saying you got to fish deep. But like I said, you can catch all winter long in the coldest of months. You can catch fish from 5 feet of water all the way down to 10 feet of water. And this rock crawler with this right setup, man, you can really go crazy and catch some good quality fish. Now, this bait is a searching bait. It stays with the bottom. I mean, it hunts definitely when you deflect off rocks. It deflects perfectly. It's just like a perfect bait. I think Spro, this is probably their, people say that the Spro frog is their staple. I would say the Spro rock crawler is their best bait that they ever made. There's no crankbait that can probably top the rock crawler in the wintertime. And the Wigglewort is coming in a close second, and that's a lot for me to say because people that know me, I am a Storm fanatic. I love Storm lures, definitely their old Arashi series of lures. But the best setup for this bait in the wintertime, generally in the wintertime, I do a lot of braid to leader just because I want maximum sensitivity. I know these fish are not going to be as aggressive hitting the bait. But for this right here, I'm literally, and it's gonna, I know people are gonna be like, oh, that's just trash. No, it works. I'm using a 7.3 medium with a 5-to-1 gear ratio reel by 13 fish. Is it 5-to-1? I think it's 5-to-1, 13 fishing reel. But I'm using, y'all ready for this? 8-pound mono. I know. What, 8 mono? Everybody think, and it's the 8-pound mono I'm using is actually the Sunline mono. Reason being is wintertime, fluorocarbon gets so brittle, and if you notice in the wintertime, you snap a lot. So a lot of times I go from using mono or copolymer in the wintertime, but I mostly like the Sunline mono. But this, when I say this bait with the 7.3 medium with that 8-pound mono, when I tell you your bait will not leave the bottom. The max depth of this bait is 14 feet. With that setup, you can literally easily get like 3 feet more. Here, like these rock crawlers, there's a reason why they cost so much. I think they're around like $13 to $15. This is just a bulletproof bait. Like it catches you fish. And not only in the wintertime is it very effective, and all the guys know in the wintertime this is probably the best crankbait out there, but in the summertime, when you're getting these fish that are so, you know, it's the midsummer, it's the hot, these fish are just trying to get cool, this bait comes into play again. But like I said, the rod crawler, I don't need to say too much about the rod crawler. It's a great bait, must be tied on at all times on the deck of the boat when it's wintertime. All right, so we're gonna move on to the last bait, my favorite. I mean, there's literally no bait that's better than this, and I'll fight you for it. Like that's how heartfelt I am about this bait. Now, I would say this bait is, I've used it so many times in the summertime, and it's not as effective as in the wintertime. There's something about just the profile of it, the way it moves in the water, the way it sounds. It just gets bit. In this exact same color, I have so many different colors of these, and I have never had the success with this other than this color in the wintertime. And that is, my friends, this is the Lucky Craft. This is the Lightning Stacy. This bait here gets bit. I mean, the way it moves in the water, I feel like the colder the water, the better this baits get. One thing I did notice with this particular bait, it is a suspending jerk bait. It's in this finesse category of the Lucky Craft jerk baits. But what I have noticed is that the colder the water is, this bait has a subtle sink. I mean, not like it's noticeable, but I was sitting in the water one day and I watched it sink real slow. I mean, really slow. And what that did was it just triggered this whole experimental like cycle in my mind. Generally, a lot of people I've noticed, they throw their jerk baits on spinning tackle. I've tried it. I'm not the biggest fan of it. And this goes back to the reason why I think the finesse, this is the best finesse jerkbait ever made. That's the best finesse jerkbait out there, is because the castability of this. I throw this bait on a baitcaster. Setup that I use is, again, it's a bulletproof setup. It works and it's very effective, and it helps me catch more fish with this. So for line wise, what I do, I use 15-pound braid to a 6-pound fluoro. That helps for a lot of sensitivity, because when you're jerkbait fishing, a lot of times in the wintertime, they're hitting it while you kill it. And then when you're killing that bait, that's when they're coming up. They might even nose it a little bit and kind of nip at it. And every bite counts, right? In the wintertime. And what that really light setup of line allows me to do is feel that nip. Now, how I feel the nip also goes based off the rod. I use, very taboo again, I use a 7-1 medium light with a fast tip. That really soft tip is really sensitive, and you can feel even minnows and bluegill nipping at your bait as it's standing still. I do that soft rod because when I am working that bait, my goal is not to pull it out the strike zone. And that's where that slow gear ratio reel comes into play. It's still going to be a little bit of slack out there as I'm popping that bait. With the medium rod, what I found is sometimes that bait gets pulled out that strike zone, so the fish stop paying attention to it. But with that setup that I explained, man, that bait is almost walking in place when you're working it, still swooping and everything in place and staying in the strike zone a lot longer. But yeah, this is just the pointer. This is my #1 bait that will always be tied on in the wintertime. It's January. It's the best time to fish for me. I'll fish if it's 12 degrees outside. As long as there's open water, I can get warm. I got some hot coffee, some tea or something like that in a boat, I'm gonna get warm. But yeah, these are my 3 baits I feel like y'all should have. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, because I will be posting a lot more videos. I got